Welcome to the fastest stuff in town. Today we'll start this Makkot stuff Ches. We are going to begin on the bottom of Zayin Amud Beis by the new Mishnah. Says the Masnisa, Nishmat habarzel mikito. Let's say that the person was chopping wood, and the iron piece of the axe, it's a wooden handle, it's wood, and then the top where is the blade is of course barzel. Let's say the blade flew right off of it, mikito, from its handle. The hargnin kills someone. Rabbi Omer enu goyla. So he holds that actually the machlokas whether or not you'll have golos in that case. However, mina eitz hamisbakeya. Let's say the wood chips that you're hitting, and all of a sudden one of them shoots out and kills someone. So we have this machlokus under certain circumstances. The Chachamim say you go to golos, sometimes not. So we're going to understand, obviously, this case better. Says the Gemara, Tanya, Armulhem Rebbe Chacham. So Rebbe asks the kasha the Chachamim. Now I Rebbe hold that the only time you're going to end up going to golos is if it's the wood. It doesn't say that the blade flew from its wood. It's from the wood, which is mashma, that's the wood chips. Just like when it mentions about wood previously, guys going to chop wood, Rashi says lichros eitz. Obviously it's mina eitz mispakeya, talking about the wood you're chopping. So af eitza mulamatim and eitza mispakeya. The death took place with these sharp wood chips that flew out. The truth is that the Chachamim and Rabbi, they darsh from the same pasuk and how to read it. So what does that mean? It's written that the iron caused the wood to fly. Rabbanan savri yeshim mikra. That's the way it's actually read. V'noshel karinan, and it's referring to the iron itself that flew off. So Rabbi yeshim Mosiris, is that true that Rabbi holds the way that it's written? However, if we look at the Chesed Aleph, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda ben Rayetz, Beis Shammai, Rashim, Rabbi Kiva, all these great sages, Kul Savilu Yeshim Mikra. So we see clearly that Rabbi holds Yeshim Mikra, not Yeshim Mosiris. So how did it come with V'oid? That's the reason why he had to add the V'oid, because it's true. The first kasha, it could be totally Yeshim Mikra, Yeshim Mosiris. However, V'oid, the further question that he posed is that again, it says eight. It's obviously talking about the wood you're chopping, so it's the wood that you're chopping. Amra Papa. So man deshad a piece of a dikla, a person who threw a clump of earth toward a date palm tree, the ater tamri, and it caused the date to fall. The ozul tamri v'kotol, and this cluster of dates landed and killed someone. So that's going to be bundle machlokas the Rebbe v'Rabbanan. It's the same notion of this machlokas of Rebbe and Rabbanan, just like you're chopping wood and the wood pieces fly off. So if you throw something like similar to the axe, you throw something and it causes the dates to fly and kill someone. So the question is, that seems obvious. So Pshita, obviously that's their machlokas. Manatema kikaychodami. Maybe when it comes to the case of the dates, it's considered to be like a secondary force. Kamashmon. El kaycha Rebbe heichmishkach. So where do we find that? Again, they showed a piece. So you threw a clump of earth, umachil garma, and it hit a leafy branch. The also garma and the leafy branch went umachil kavasa, and it ended up hitting the cluster. Says Rashi, eshkoel hatamarim. The ater tamri also tamri v'kotol. Then it caused the dates to kill. Says next Mishnah. Says Masnisa. Hazar kev l'rishos harabim. If you just take a rock and you just throw it into the middle of the street, where there's hundreds of thousands of people walking around, the har you kill someone, har is a goyla. So in that case, you taka go to goals. It depends. If from the time that you let the stone leave your hand, when you did that, the person thrust out his head and received the blow, then her is a potter. So in that situation, you're going to be potter, as the Gemara is going to explain. Zarkas evan l'chatzeroi. Let's say you throw a rock in your courtyard. V'harag, it depends. It's all totally if the victim has the right to have been there at the time of the throw. Why? And we saw this before. That you encounter your friend in a forest. So my hayar, just like a forest. Anyone could go there. It's like public. It's public area. So I've called rishus l'nizik l'mazik l'chanes l'sham yatsa chatzir shabal bias shen rishus l'nizik, and we shouldn't read l'mazik l'chanes l'sham. So because the nizik had no right to be there, it's not comparable to a yar. So even though that you killed him, you're not going to be chayav galus. B'shol oimer ma chatava seitzim rishus, just like chopping wood, you're doing it for your own purposes. I've called rishus, you're only going to be chayav galus if you were doing something for your own benefit, for your own purpose, excluding a mitzvah. For example, Yatza Av Hamakas Benai, if you have a father who hits his son maybe a little too hard and ends up killing him, but Rav Horaides Talmido, or a teacher who does that to a student, V'shlech Beistin. So in that situation, as Rashi says, Hamalka Arboyim, Malchus, if you're a shlich mason, you have to give someone malchus, and then they end up dying. So you're not going to have to go to golus in those situations, because it's only in a case like going into a forest, which is rishus lafuki, if it's a mitzvah. Okay, says the Gemara. So rishus harabim meizadu. I understand. If you take a rock and you throw in the middle of a rishus harabim, there's millions of people there, 100,000 people there. You're b'mezid. We're talking about where you're removing the stones of your wall. So what? You still should have been more careful. So doing it at night when there's not a lot of people around. So see, even if it's at night, there's still people walking around. So you're throwing the rocks directly into an ashma, into a garbage heap. And an ashma is not a place, apparently, where people would be. Well, it depends. If people actually go into this ashma, so pshehu, you're still negligent. If it's no one usually typically goes there, then it's an einus. It's not even a shaygig. So Amar Papa, what tzricha we needed el ashma sulifanos ba b'layla and sulifanos ba b'yoyim. So it's like a bathroom area where people would relieve themselves at night, but not during the day. However, there are some people that taka would do so during the day. So since this took place during the day, most people don't do this during the day, and therefore because of that, you're not a pesheya. However, since there are some people that do it, so therefore you are not completely innocent either. Question 3. Hazarik Evan Rishos Harabim, Vaharig Harizay Gaila Hik Mashkaks Ladulo, Vamezidhu El Shaygeg, Zbazarik Ashba Biyoim, the Asuya Fanas Babulai Lavlo Biyoim, El Ikademic Rav Yosef. So that's the answer to that question. Good. Alright, let's keep on going. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Rabbi Chul. So quoting our Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said, it depends. If the stone left your hand and the guy thrust his head out, then you are potter. Tanabanan. Umatza, that you found him, pratlamatzias atzmos, excluding that the victim himself found it. Mekanam, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, that's that reason why he says, if once you already threw it off, then the guy sticks out his head, the kibble potter, because you didn't intend for the person to be there. You didn't see him. So when you threw it, now it's in midair, being quickly catapulted in a particular direction, and all of a sudden some guy pops up out of the middle of nowhere and gets hit. Now remember, are you coming to tell me the matzah mi'ikar mashma? It's mashma that it's only when you're already there. That's what you b'chaim galus. Or minhi u'matzahs prat u'matzui. So what is that? Shol yimcha b'rachik v'yigoel b'karov. You shouldn't sell far away and redeem close by. What is this referring to? So Rashi says like this. Rashi says, Im geula zu matsuya b'yadai. If let's say the redeemer is found by you, kishemachra ein kaifin es lokech lachzir loy lifdais. Okay, so if it's close, if you're shloyim charachai v'go b'karv, you shouldn't sell far and redeem close. Rav yigal biyafa, or far and redeem close by. So again, clearly we find that matzah is not mikara mashma, is not that it was already there. So depends on the context. Like you reached wealth, you reached wealth in your hands. You have money now. So matzah means now. In our case, it has to be comparable to a forest. My yar, it's something that was there from before. It's something that was from before. So what happens in that case? So he said, if you threw it in, it depends. If the nizik has rishus to go there, the mechatzavas eitzim durshus, and then we said the end of the Mishnah, Abba Shol says it's only by rishus, but by a mitzvah you'd be potter. How do we know that that's true? Dilma, when we're talking about the case of chopping wood, mechatzavas eitzim the sukkah, you're cutting wood for schach. Mechatzavas eitzim the maracha, you need firewood for the mizbeach. Vafil hachi yam rachman eligli, and maybe you still go to galus. Shamalei no. When it comes to this case, being chayv galus is only when you are engaged in chopping wood as a rishus. Because kivan de'im matzah chatuv, if you would have already found the wood was already cut, lav mitzvah, it's not a mitzvah. So hashinami lav mitzvah, so it's not considered to be a mitzvah. So therefore, even though you're chopping wood, it's the act of chopping wood for schach is not the mitzvah. It's just considered like a hechsher, whatever you need it for the mitzvah. But the truth is, if you already have schach, like I have schach, I put it in my garage. Next year, I don't need to chop more trees down. I use that schach. So therefore, that action cannot be a mitzvah. Okay, which is, therefore, there really is no exclusion because there's no example of cutting tree in a forest, which is a mitzvah. So he has a kasha. Yotza'av hamakas b'nai. V'rav haredis talmido v'shalech beistin. So all these different people are going to be potter by doing an action of hitting, and they may end up killing their student, their teacher, their student, their child. They don't go to galus. So why don't we say kivandi ilu gomir la mitzvah hashanam la mitzvah? Maybe if the kid was actually learning, you wouldn't need to discipline him. You only need to discipline people who are not learning. But if he's learning on his own, you wouldn't hit him. So therefore, once you say the same thing, must be hitting him is not a mitzvah. You can say the same thing as chopping wood. So hasam afgad the gomer mitzvah. Even though the child learns, there's still a mitzvah to hit him. Dechsiv yasir bincha, they'll correct your son. V'yanichecha, and he'll give you rest. V'yitin ma'adanim l'nafshecha, and he'll give you delights for your soul. So it's an interesting vort. The idea of hitting a child is not just so that they end up doing the right thing, to curb whatever negative behaviors they had, but it's also perhaps an element of showing aim-off for the parent, and therefore because of that there's still a mitzvah to do so. The pasuk says clearly, you're in a forest. My yard. So what is a forest? Di boy aisle, boy aisle. If you want to go into the forest, you could. You don't have to. It's your choice. Well, it sounds like you have a choice to go into the forest. So obviously, if it's a mitzvah, there's no choice. It's a commandment. So therefore, it must be Talmud Rishos. Amar Rav Hada bar Avo Rava. So kol heichad iksiv asher. Is it true that every time it says the word asher, Di boy who? It means that it's mashma if you want to do it, it's your choice. El miyata disha asher yitma, person who's tame. Vol yischata, and he didn't go about the purification process. E boy mitma boy lo mitama. Is that talking about a case where he had a choice to become tamei? Meis mitzvah do isagdul matama hachanami de potter. So understand, in the case of a meis mitzvah, where you need to become tamei, you have an obligation to take care of the meis mitzvah. So you're going to tell me that you're going to be potter in that case? No, hasam diar makra. The pasuk says, as we continue the chesed with beis, the pasuk tells us tamei yiyeh mikol makom. You're tamei no matter what. That doesn't change anything. Hahu miboile. But I thought we needed that pasuk. Look at the sign. Tamei l'rabos tful yoim. When it says the person is tamei, includes even a tful yoim. Says Rashi, shim nichnas hamikdash onas karish. That you end up, you went to the mikvah, but you're just waiting to be able to for erev shemesh to masoy b'l rabos mechusik kippurim. That even if you're Mechusik Kippurim, you even had Erev Shemesh the 7th night, but you haven't brought the Karbanos on the 8th day, then also a person who enters into the Beis HaMikdash in that situation will also be Chayv. So Rabbis Mechusik Kippurim. So Amalei Anam Oid to Masu Kamina. So therefore you can learn out a separate drasha from this. Some people learn it differently on a different topic. B'charish Uvekatzir Tishbois. Person is supposed to rest from plowing and harvesting. We don't need to mention these malachos that you cannot do them on Shemitah. We already have a pasuk for that. So why does it add this? So the chiddush is there's a concept of Tosefes Shvius. That not only do you have to keep the Shemitah, but the pasuk is telling you also have to tack on time before and after. When a person is plowing rishos, av katsir rishos, yatsa katsir ha'omer shu mitzvah. When it comes to katsir of the omer, that is a mitzvah to cut it down. Maybe we're talking about plowing for an omer. And nonetheless, you have to rest. Because if you would have found it already plowed, it's not a mitzvah. So therefore, now it's also not a mitzvah. So it's why do we say this regarding these people? Since the people that they hit or whatnot, if they did learn, it's not a mitzvah to hit them. So hashnam la mitzvah must be it's not a mitzvah. So hasam afnad the gomer now be mitzvah kov, it's still a mitzvah to say yosef bin cham yanichecha. Fine. Chadam Rabbi la milsi the amri katsira dum necharisha. Harvesting is like plowing. Machrisha matzucharish enu charish. Just like when it comes to plowing, if you find it plowed, you don't have to plow. Av katsira nami is so the pasuk is also regarding to harvesting. Matzah katzer enu katzer. V'yisach that mitzvah. Matzah katzer. If a person found it that way, enu kaitzer mitzvah liktzer v'lahavi. It's still a mitzvah to harvest. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. Okay. Ha'av goyel al yidei haben, v'ben goyel al yidei av. So which means that if the son kills the father, and the father kills the son, the kid goes to Golos, so the father goes to Golos. Hakol goyel al yidei Yisrael, v'yisrael goyel al yideihem. So no matter who you are, you killed someone, you go to Golos. Chutz miger taishiv. Now when it comes to ger taishiv, v'ger taishiv enu goyel el yidei ger taishiv. Only a ger taishiv, says Rashi, she'en yisrael goyel al yadai. So that's just the din. Says the Gemara, ha'av goyel al yidei haben v'amr yatsa av makas b'nai. I thought you said that the father hits the son. He's not chayav golos because he's doing a mitzvah. My answer is the gomer. He already knew how to learn, so there's no mitzvah to hit him. What do I mean? V'amr amar the gomer mitzvah of it. It's still a mitzvah. We're talking about not teaching him Torah, but teaching him like an apprenticeship to be a carpenter. It's a mitzvah to teach him. The Gomer umnasa achriti. Regarding teaching him, that you were teaching him another craft. In other words, you're right. If it was that I was teaching you a particular umna, and that's going to be your parnassus, that's also a mitzvah. I'm talking about, I trained you to do a second thing, which really is not how you're going to make your money anyway. In that situation is what it means that the father will go to Golos by killing his son. Okay, and that's question 4a. Av shehikas b'no v'harg b'shagi im goyla. So it depends. If it's l'shem mitzvah, no. Im v'harg b'no enu goyla el b'oifen de lav mitzvah k'gayin de lamdu umnois v'yesh lo kvar umnois acheres. He already had another job. He already had another craft. Okay, so there's no chiyuv of having to teach him a second skill. V'av gola alidei ben, v'haben gola alidei av. So if the son kills the father, the son will go to Golos. V'minhi makin nefesh prat l'maki aviv. It says in the pasuk, only if you kill someone, but not your father. It's clearly, we use this pasuk as to exclude it. Says Rashi. So what is that? Makin nefesh gabi hoyreg b'shkaga ksiv. Somebody kills b'shogeg. V'noshama makin nefesh b'shkaga. So we're coming to exclude a son who kills. So Amar Rav Kahana Lukasha. Harav Shin Rabbanan. It's actually a machlokas. You're right. Rav Shimon dir mechenek chom or mesayif. So according to Rav Shimon, chenek is a stronger death penalty than sayif. Therefore, shogeg sayif nitna la kapara. Shogeg chenek lo nitna la kapara. So since chenek is more chomer, so therefore the shogeg of sayif is a kapara. The shogeg of chenek will not be a kapara. Again, because Rav Shimon holds chenek is chomer. Fine. L'Rabban the Amri sayif chomer, which is what we actually hold, mechenek harig aviv b'shogeg. So if you kill him b'shogeg, which is a chiyuv sayif, shogeg sayif hu v'shogeg sayif nitnul kapara. So basically, the point is that if you killed someone, you're chayiv in your chayiv sayif. So therefore, if you hold sayif as the most chomer, so then you give him sayif, and that's it. Therefore, that would be the punishment. Okay, fine. Question 4b. Ben shehikas aviv hargu b'shogeg im goyla. So is he going to go to Golos? So he said that Ben haharig aviv Rav Shimon the chenek chamor, since chenek is more strict, enu goyla the havli shkogas chenek do nitna kapara, because this is a case of shkogas chenek, which he won't achieve a kapara. Rabbanan holds sayif as chamor, and therefore he'll be goyla. Okay. Because sayif is more chomer than chenek, and therefore that's the reason why you do go to Golos. Fine. He has a different shot. Says that you actually hit your father b'shogeg. So that lamina kivan de memez bar katalhu. Since memez, if you did that, you're chayiv misa. B'shogeg nam illegally. So maybe you think he goes to Golos. Kamash one. Maybe you don't. Hacham. So hakoyel going al yidei Yisrael v'chu. Hakol going al yidei Yisrael v'suimar. Who's that including? V'sui Evid v'kusi. Even when it comes to an Evid v'kusi, tanino lahal tanurabanim. Evid v'kusi. When it comes to an Evid v'kusi, goyla, they will go to Golos if they kill the yid. V'loika al yidei Yisrael. Yisrael goyla v'loika al yidei kusi v'Evid. So if they kill a yid, kills a kuti or an Evid, so they also are going to go to Golos. Now, Bishlam Evid v'kusi goyla al yidei Yisrael v'loika. Goyla, why did they go to Golos? To Katli, because they killed someone. V'loika, they would get Malchus Delati if they cursed. He cursed a member of Yisrael. El Yisrael goyla v'loika de kusi bishloma goyla the Katli for killing. El Laika Mai. What's the Malchus? The Lati for cursing? It's only if he acts like a Yid. Only if he acts properly. El Ravacha Bar Yaakov Kegoin Shehemid Boy, the Shehayed Boy testified. V'huzim Nikim Inim Zaymin. The Kavasi Gabi Eved Shehayed Boy V'huzim. Which basically means it was done before by fine. So Ella Maravach Bar Yaakov Gan Shehemid Boy Shehayed Boy V'huzim. The Kavasi Gabi Eved Shehayed Boy V'huzim. Eved bar Edus. So understand. What do you mean that he gave Edus? An Eved can't give Edus. Ella Maravach Bar Edu Rabbi Kahachamayaskin Kagain Shehikahu Hakah. That they hit a hit, as we continue the Testament of She'ein Ba Sheva Pruta, that had no monetary value in that situation. So and because of that, Yom Rav Ami, Yom Rav Yochanan, he called Hakah She'ein Ba Sheva Pruta, Loika, he gets Malchus. V'lo Makshinan Hakah L'Klol, and we don't make a Hekesh Hakah to Klola. So even though we say by you be chayav for Hakah, but you're not going to be chayav for Klola. Okay, let's stop there. Let's see another couple of questions. TA 9. Ha'av goyel al yedei haben. Madua hari av hamakas b'nai havi mitzvah upater. Right. So what do you mean? He did a mitzvah. So we end up saying that he was teaching him another umnus. B'sholi denagri v'gamer umnusa achriti. Okay. Which is the correct answer. Let's see. Let's find this. The governor Sachriti. Okay. TA 9. Okay. Question TB 10. Av shehikas benoi v'harg b'shagig im goyla. Ben shehikas ovid v'harg b'shagig im goyla. Mom's the same thing. So I wrote ha'avin goyla afil lumen umnois. Im ze umniois sheni kamo, and I wrote carpenter's apprentice. Az ha'av goyla. Aval lo l'davar mitzvah. L'chanech haben toli b'machlokas ezemisa chomer. Chenek osayef. Ha'inish shel ha'ratzeach usayef. Yasa chabura chenek. O ha'pasik something. Haben shehu chaymisa fil im asa chabura. Adkan.